And welcome to the Coming Out Stories show. And this is episode 1, and I am really excited about this new show that I'm going to be making for you. And really, it's about me supporting you with your coming out journey. If you're struggling with your sexuality or feeling a bit uncomfortable, finding it hard to really live in the truth of who you are, then listening to other people's stories, I think, can really help. It kind of makes us feel less alone. So, this is the first episode, and I am really excited to welcome women. So, all of these episodes will be with LGBTQ women, and today I've got Marquita sitting next to me, and I'm going to let Marquita tell you about what she does, why she does it, and why it really matters to her. And then I'm going to ask her a few questions about her coming out journey, so you'll get a sense of what that's been like for her. So, Marquita, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's the first episode.
It is the first
I
episode.
feel really honoured. That's lovely.
Brilliant. Yeah, so do you want to just talk a little bit about
me?
what you do,
Well,
why you do it,
Yeah, sure.
why it matters,
I'm Marquita Smith. I'm a personal trainer in Brighton and Hove, and I'm also a weight management advisor as well. And I'm co-founder of Trans Sport, which is a community group which supports trans folk in Brighton and Hove get fit, and we offer low and free cost sessions.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
So Trans Sport.
Trans Sport, and yeah, I'm a personal trainer.
And a personal trainer and a weight management.
And weight management. So I support individuals with a range of different goals. So it's anything from physical and sport performance down to sort of fat and weight loss. So it really depends on what the individual needs. But it's something that I'm really passionate about. I've always been very involved with sport myself. It's also been very supportive of me mental health wise. And that's just something that I've always wanted to share with other people, and just make things more accessible for individuals, because not everybody, whether they're part of the LGBT community, feel necessarily that sport and fitness is accessible to them.
Right.
So to me, it's not necessarily just about about how a person looks. It's very much about how they feel, how they're connected to their body, mental health, and also about performance. It's about empowerment.
Sure. And how long have you been doing the work with the Trans Sport?
With Trans Sport, we started in 2016. So actually, it's going to be 4 years in January. Wow. I know, right? I'm really proud of it. So I've been training people on and off for about 20 years. I've been freelance this time around for about 5 years, and I started Trans Sport with a friend of mine about 4 years ago.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, it's been great.
And is that just Brighton and Hove?
Currently Brighton and Hove. Myself, I train my clients mostly in Hove, but also through Brighton. And the Trans Sport is through mostly Brighton. People come from surrounding areas. It's a great project.
Cool.
Really love it.
Cool. Yeah, and I think we're talking about, in terms of things like the Trans Sport stuff, I'll make sure that the links are available to you if that's something that you want to catch up with Marquita about after this. Okay, so I've got some questions that I'm going to be asking all of my guests about their coming out journey. So we're going to start with how you identify. So how do you identify in terms of
sexuality? I identify as queer, QT-POC, so I'm a queer person of colour. I've probably had several labels through the last how many years, bisexual, lesbian, but I feel that queer is more suited to who I am as a person now.
Okay. And so a queer person of colour. Cool. And what do you, because the labels thing I think is kind of quite a point of
contention.
Yeah, contention, exactly. And I guess, I just wonder what your thoughts around it are, and whether we need them, and what are the reasons that they kind of do benefit, I suppose.
I think it depends on who's doing the labelling. I don't have any issues with labelling myself, and queer is just one of the many labels that I have.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, if someone else labels me, I suppose it depends on what they're labelling me with. But for myself, labelling myself as queer, it brings me closer to my community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm part of a bigger picture,
Yeah,
not just sort of me on my own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about yourself? What do you feel?
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point actually. It's about if you're, it's how you identify, it's your personal sort of, sense of who you are. And you get to choose that, and you get to choose and, your own sort of experience. It sounds like, that can change over time. So I guess for me, it's about other people not making assumptions about your kind of identity, but also what that means, and making judgment about what that means. So, yeah.
I think it has to do with language as well, because I suppose it's about definitions and language, and I think the term queer is only something that's kind of come back in recent years, while before obviously it was almost a slur or only used particularly within the community, and it's an umbrella term that's come back now, which I think we've reclaimed.
Yeah, reclaimed it, absolutely. Cool. I think we could probably talk about that for longer.
Yeah, sure. We go on and on and on.
No, let's move on. So, when did you first sort of realise that you were, I'm going to use the word queer because that's how you're identifying now, but that you were perhaps not heterosexual?
I suppose that's a difficult one, because I look back and at the age of 4, I had feelings that I didn't quite understand the mum-dad dynamic. I remember being a prince and rescuing my female friends and my cousin, and not understanding why they needed a prince. I could be the prince and I could rescue a princess, and I had 2 Cindy dolls. I didn't have a Ken and a Barbie, and I didn't understand there was no need for a Ken, but I had He-Man and My Little Ponies, and so there was that kind of feeling of I don't quite get the boy girl kind of thing. And then when I got to about 10, 11, maybe 12, all my friends were like, who's your favourite new kid on the block? Who's your favourite member of Take That? Who do you love the most? And I'm a bit like, I don't feel anything about anything about any of these boys or any of the boys that are in school as well. I couldn't quite get to grips with, were they just playing or did they really feel this way? And is there something wrong with me not being so obsessed with boys the way that they were? Right. And then I definitely got older and started getting different feelings I most certainly didn't want to talk about and was worried about talking about. And then I think by the time I got to my early 20s, it was like, I think I know what's going on here. It's so I would say probably the first time I noticed was about 4, but was only willing to admit that to myself in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And again, it's not having maybe the experience, the language, the community, not understanding what it was. Is there something wrong with it? Because words like lesbian and gay, and they weren't used.
Sure.
And of course in school, Section 28, it was something that wasn't discussed, wasn't on television, and family and family friends didn't really talk about it because it wasn't really in their circle. It's not to say that they didn't agree with it, it just wasn't discussed, so there was no reason for you to understand what it
was almost like be. It didn't really exist.
It didn't exist.
Yeah, so there was no reference points or anything. Very similar to my sort of experience as well. Okay, so sort of early 20s was when you kind of the penny started to drop.
Or I was willing to see the penny drop. Right, I wasn't trying to grasp it and stop it. I wasn't juggling the penny. The penny actually dropped and I allowed it to. So yeah, it was definitely that feeling of, okay, I think I'm going to have to admit to what this is now, but I don't know where to go and who to talk to about this. Yeah, definitely. I mean,
what did you do? What was kind of like?
My first step was probably a few years before that, before I left for university. So I must have been about 17 or 18. And I wouldn't call it coming out. I admitted that I had feelings and attractions towards same-sex to a woman. She was a little bit older than me. She was kind of a big sister figure. Being involved with sports, I met her husband, trained with her husband, and then met her. And I was just like, I need to tell somebody, and I think I might have had a drink. That might have had something to do with it as well.
You might have had
I might have had a drink or two, because I could tell you exactly where we were, and you know, and I was just like, I've got to tell you something, and I'm really scared to tell you. I remember being very, very nervous and worried about how she would feel about it, and just saying that I've got a crush, and it wasn't on her, but you know, I had a crush on girls, and I didn't know how to feel about it and what to do about it. And she was absolutely amazing. She was like, yeah, that's fine, that's totally normal. And kind of just, it wasn't any big deal made out of it. She said, you can talk to me about it anytime. And that one step, that one person being understanding was like, okay, this isn't so bad then. But I was like, but don't tell anybody. You mustn't tell anyone.
Sure.
And I knew that she was a very trustworthy person, but I was absolutely terrified that she would tell somebody.
Right,
and I knew she wouldn't, but it was just that feeling of, okay, I know that you're telling me it's okay, and I'm getting the feeling that it's okay, but please just don't tell anybody, because I don't think I could cope with people finding out.
Yeah. So it's like a mixed kind of like relief.
It was just like
but then also like, that risk
it was
of...
It was the pressure cooker where I went like that and let the lid off like that and put it straight back on again, and you mustn't tell anybody. You know about the pressure cooker, but you know, no one else is allowed to know about the pressure cooker. And she was like, it's cool, you just do it whenever you feel like you need to.
Yeah.
But I was almost like, well, maybe this is a phase, maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I don't feel this way, maybe I'm
right.
You know, maybe I'm okay. That's what I was thinking. So I'm really thankful to her for being that person I could trust and talk to.
Yeah,
she's fantastic. God, it feels like a million years ago now.
I think that is so important, really, in terms of, because I had a similar thing, I suppose, but the woman that I first sort of told and shared what was going on for me was I knew she was gay.
Okay.
So I knew she was a lesbian, and I knew she was in a long-term relationship with a woman. So that, but she didn't know any of my friends or any of my kind of like circle.
Right.
So that I had that kind of safety thing there, but also I just remember the relief of telling somebody about it and just being able to kind of share it. But such a small, you know, what I told her was such a small part of what was going on for me. But it did make a difference, and that's definitely something that I talk to my clients about, actually, and people that are struggling, women that are struggling with this stuff, is if you can reach out to somebody, and it doesn't have to be in your friendship group. It, you know, there's so many organisations now that
masses
can help and support, and anonymously and all that stuff, and safely. So I think it just really makes a difference to share what's happening for you. Cool. And so what was you say in terms of your coming out journey? So I guess from those early days when you had that first conversation, it's probably quite a few years now, but like the sort of highs and lows of your journey that you've been on to get to where you are now.
Highs and lows. That's a loaded question.
And it's a big one. It's a big one.
So in reference to coming out?
Yeah, coming out. So there's, I guess, and the way that I look at coming out, there's kind of like the self-acceptance part. So coming out to yourself and really knowing and being connected to what is happening for you and what your feelings are, and kind of accepting you have romantic attraction or you have physical attraction for the same sex or whatever your identity or sexual orientation might be. So there's that piece. There's your own personal kind of relationship with it, I guess, the coming out. And then of course there's the wider, to the world, to whoever you choose or don't choose to talk to or come out to, I suppose. So anything that sort of, I suppose, feels like significant for you. Wow. That comes to mind.
I suppose there's so
on the spot,
many.
in this
on
moment.
The spot, in this moment. In reference to coming out, it is definitely it's definitely waves. I mean, I'm coming out now because there's probably clients of mine, for example, who might see this. Who I mean, I'm not in the closet by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not always the first thing I go, hi Marquita, I'm, you know,
absolutely,
you know, it don't really jump out that way. So, you know, it's a constant journey coming out. I remember first going, right, this is what this is. I think I need to tell my family. That was a massive step. And I was absolutely terrified to tell my mother. As much as she's the most open-minded, caring person, there's just that tiny grain of doubt that, you know, people that love you unconditionally could suddenly just turn on you for no reason at all. And I knew that she would be absolutely fine. I knew my sister would be fine, and my aunts and uncles and my cousins and would be fine, but it was just that fear. So once I kind of got over that barrier and I told my mum, everything kind of just fell to, you know, into place when it came to family. So that was probably the first key of externally coming out.
Sure.
That was probably my first step. Coming out to myself, I can't even tell you when that was. I think maybe I was 22, something like that. It's, yeah, it was kind of coming out of a relationship with a guy, lovely guy, treated me amazingly, I really cared for him, but there was just something missing. And then going, boom, I'm gay. It was just something that just hit me. I was like, I know that in my past I've kissed the odd girl and blah blah blah, but that was just fun, haha. I was a bit drunk, and then suddenly going, Marquita, you're not. It's not about the drinking. It's not about it's you. You're gay. And it just suddenly just hit me, and I just let it go and admitted to it, and it was just like, oh, yeah. And it was just like all these sort of opportunities and doors kind of opened for me, because something that was so big was now released, and I had this element of freedom.
Yeah, that sounds positive.
And then suddenly LGBT people were everywhere, but people that I knew. So once I came out,
right, yeah,
I won't out them because I don't know how out they are. I suddenly realised that several of the people that I had gone to school with were gay, and they were worried about coming out to me. In fact, we, you know, I remember someone specifically going out to dinner with them, chatting, and then going, I need to tell you something, and I'm like, okay, what are they going to say? Was it something happened?
It's that
they were so nervous. I was like, oh my god, did they have an illness and like that? And they went, I said, you're gay, aren't you? And they're like, oh my god, yeah, is that? And I was like, I am too. And they're like, really? We've known each other for like 12 years. How have we never had this conversation?
Wow.
How have we never had this conversation? And it was like, we both knew going through our lives, growing up exactly at the same time, but it just had never bounced off and had that conversation. So it's kind of moments like that that have been quite big and pivotal. And then coming out at work, and then every time you kind of meet somebody new, and then situations like this with coming out again.
Sure.
So I think I've been quite fortunate with my coming out. Perhaps it's the individuals that I've attracted. Perhaps, you know, I've just managed to fizzle out the people who maybe subconsciously that I knew wouldn't be okay with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I have been fortunate. I've had some negative experiences, but they weren't people that were particularly close or important to me, so I was easily like kicking to the curb.
Yeah. And I was quite interested to the bit where you said the door, you know, it's kind of like, I think you said the doors were opening, the possibilities were opening, and seeing the kind of LGBTQ community that is there, and it is very, for me anyway, and I think for all the LGBTQ people that I know, it's a really strong, supportive community.
It's a second family.
Yeah, absolutely. Second family.
And in some cases, of many individuals that I know, it's their first family.
Yeah.
Yeah, many people this year I know are having a queer Christmas, where they're going to spend Christmas with their queer family because they maybe don't have a home to go to, and that's where they feel closest and most loved and connected with individuals. Definitely, I've been unbelievably fortunate to have some really close connections with individuals within this community, and you know, that's, to me, is a privilege.
Yeah.
And
it's a great I think it's a great pro, isn't it? Benefit of those unique and special and deep connections that you can have. with people in the community.
And it's not just on a physical level. I think a lot of people think very much about being gay and queer is about sex, but it's actually not just that. It's about the connections that you can make with individuals as well. And it's, I would say to anyone who's worried about coming out, it's just like you're literally just you're not sort of closing a door, you're literally kicking a door wide open and getting the opportunity to spend time and to meet people within a community that is just phenomenal, truly phenomenal.
Yeah,
I'm really proud to be a part of the LGBT community. So it's
absolutely, me too.
Yeah.
Great, and I think you've answered the last question, which was about what advice would you give to someone questioning, or kind of struggling with some of this stuff. What would be your sort of top tip, if you like?
Do it in your own time. Yeah, seriously, there's no rush. There's no rush. There's no right way of doing it either. Because I think so many people think that you need to have a party and jump out, or you need to. There's too many films that have so many stereotypical
put the rainbow t-shirt on.
You need to jump out at Pride, or you need to come out to everybody, or you might not need to come out at all. It's perfectly valid to decide to not come out. Just as much as it is to decide to come out. So it's completely up to you, and I think you have to do it the way that's right for yourself.
Absolutely agree. And no pressure, and everyone's unique personal journey, really. So finally, thank you very much. It's been amazing to have you here and hear your story. How can people get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. I never really thought about that.
If they want to find out more about what you do.
Yeah, sure. I would say social media is the best option. Instagram at Marquita Fitness, Facebook Marquita Smith Fitness and Nutrition, and if you want to drop me an email, it's marquitasmith.fitness@gmail.com. And feel free to obviously ask questions about fitness, nutrition, but ask me questions about Transcan Sport, which, if you're interested in Transcan Sport, it's at Transcan Sport on Instagram, on Facebook, and it's transcansport@gmail.com. So feel free to ask questions about coming out, about fitness, nutrition, whatever you fancy. I'm easy to talk to, hopefully.
You're very wonderful and easy to talk to.
And I want to support the community. We're all in this together. And, I think it's important for us as individuals and having situations like this where we can actually share. Because I imagine there's going to be a lot of people watching this who will relate to certain things that we've said. Or maybe not at all, because everybody's journey is different.
Yeah, I hope so. Right, that you will relate to some of it. So I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for listening, watching, being here. So lots of love and catch you very soon, and thank you for watching, and look out for episode 2 of Coming Out Stories. Thank you.
Thank you.